went in as the last pick. Rat's going to be pretty good against the Surge and getting close to him, stopping him from getting those supers. But obviously you've got to get your super for that, and during that time, Surge should be excelling.
I think so, and also another consideration is that you're going to get abilities for free thanks to the Colonel Ruff's Hypercharge. With him not being really that good, his Hypercharge not giving him that much of a boost in terms of viability. We haven't gotten to see it that much in competitive, so it'll be nice to see it, one of these rare times. Does mean that Subeam has a tough responsibility here, though. A lot of times it can be difficult to play Ruffs. His damage can be lacking at times, and still it's possible for Semantic on this Stu to shoot between those bags. It's sort of a skill expression thing, but that is also what Humble are known for.
Yeah, well, Luki instantly dropping the 2024 World Champion pin, making obviously Humble's championship known to their opponents, and already backing the opposition into a corner, getting his level 2 early on and throwing out some shots, and level 3 already. Managed to avoid those gene shots and stay alive so he can keep those levels.
It's not looking very good for Ash on this matchup. Might even look to go for a lane switch. Knows that it's not going to be that much better on the other side, though. You see Semantic now dashing in, getting the kill on Biso, who was forced away from those bags thanks to the penny pick and can no longer really be viable against the Stu. On the right lane, Luki claims the life of Ash and now advances to level 4. Has that Hypercharge right in the
Well, it's not looking too good for ECLIPSAR at the moment, to be honest. With 7 gems already picked up from Boss and will have those solid barrels. Now the Hypercharge comes forward and Luki puts himself in a tough spot and does go down. Rat's available for Subeam over the right-hand side as well, and the break comes through on these walls, which opens it up and lets ECLIPSAR get back into the mix that little bit more. But the Rats are the first thing that Luki's going to have to deal with.
He's going to have to fight through them in a moment here by the looks of things. If gem number 10 comes in soon, Subeam now with the Rats down, easily dealt with by Boss. Luki even gets to his level 3. But now Humble have had to group up towards the bottom left. They're keeping their distance from Marco. The only brawler that's really vulnerable here is Luki. Gets pulled, can't even super in time. It's like it came out of nowhere. And now Humble have to fight this 2v3. Just look to regroup. Fighting versus a tank that's hanging out around this indestructible. But Subeam knows that Luki can jump on him quite easily. It's just a matter of time before Luki gets the chance to jump in.
Yeah, Subeam playing the slow game here, and Marco does take some fire damage along the way, but Subeam overextends massively here, and it was kind of inevitable Luki was going to be able to reclaim this lane. That's 10 for Boss in the mid, and the countdown does start. No chance for even from the mid. If ECLIPSAR don't manage to get a reset, then it's going to be going Humble's way. And look at the dominance that Semantic and Luki are putting forwards. Hypercharge can be used by Marco as he troopers forwards, looking for the pull. But Boss pops one of his own and just uses that increased movement speed to get out of the way. And the gem did not spawn in time, which means Humble take game 1.
It's a losing matchup for this Gene on mid because you're playing into the penny, and if you are a Gene on Gem Grab, what is your goal? I want to pull the most valuable brawler on the enemy team, the one holding all the gems, and you simply can't do that into Penny. She has a turret. She has as many salty barrels as she wish. Well, okay, you got to choose between 3 or 4, but you catch my drift. This is not a good matchup. And it's going to rely on the other teammates to clutch up and pinch around. We'll see Luki now sneaking through the bushes. Not quite going to get that kill on Subeam. In fact, double teamed with the help of Ruffs. But the 2v2 ensues. The left bush, however, belongs to ECLIPSAR for now.
Luki jumps on forwards and Subeam not having the best of times once more, and it is a lead early on for Humble again in terms of gems. Subeam going to use that gadget, get some health back, but Penny burns straight through all those Rats and allows Luki to go back down this lane once more, gets his jump, gadget popped, and he goes away rather than in. Wants to keep these levels and not risk it against the Ashe at close range.
ECLIPSAR, they're not getting kills on Luki, or excuse me, Luki isn't getting killed, but he is getting a whole lot of Hypercharge. In fact, he has it ready to move now. Subeam also staying out of range. Look at that! He's already used every single one of his gadgets, and Humble are now ready to pick up gem number 10. Gotta be cautious. Gem number 10 spawning on the side of ECLIPSAR, so they're being cautious. We'll see a Hypercharge in. Luki creating the pressure, getting pulled by Marco, but he doesn't have a pull for Boss or Semantic anymore. That's number 10 for Humble, and the countdown begins.
It's a great pull, but it's not well timed whatsoever. He really needed to keep that to deter Boss from going forwards. And obviously he did have the salty barrel. He gets another one, but the salty barrel is all he pulls along with Luki. Good tank there from Boss to have it back in time, but now the Hypercharge comes in. That's going to be a lot of Rats, but just cleaned up in time as Boss holds on to all the gems and none of his teammates fall either. That's going to be a set for Humble and a great start as we expected.
Semantic looking excited by that win as well. Got to be feeling great to start off with just such a decisive pick up there. And yeah, talking through these map stats, pretty confident already.
I think so. Look at Lukey putting up almost 600 on the board, and there was no shortage of enemies feeding onto that lane. I think that really with the roughs over here not having really any play into the penny because the bags are going to come down, what does she do? Shoot right through them. But I think Boss felt quite comfortable at mid. Now, if there were bags for him to burst down, then that could have been a different story. But you have two brawlers that are countered by the rough sandbags, and he was denied the chance to use them, or he was just so cautious that he decided that it wasn't going to be worth it to run that gadget.
What would you say there, Trev? Denied or cautious?
I mean, it was just kind of impossible for him to really do anything at all, regardless of what gadget he had. If he has the sandbags, they're going to get burned through by the penny. If he has the meteors, he's not going to be able to do with the stew for any of the game. And to be fair, he didn't anyway. Let's be real. Even if he didn't manage to do with the stew whatsoever. 0 kills and a great team performance from the guys on Humble. None of them really slipped up at all. We saw a bit of over-aggression here and there, but I think that just comes with the confidence that these guys have over ECLIPSAR.
Yeah, any shining moments from Humble where you're like, oh, there's that, guys.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think there was like any big moments. They kind of just held on to the game for the entirety of it. There was really no need for any big moments, in my opinion, Reddy.
Yeah, there was a moment where Lukey jumped forward with a super and proceeded to die. And that was very unnecessary, but Humble being themselves recovered from that position. He just knew that he was going to win that matchup, pretty much, and sort of threw the lane, but only for a moment. Just a reminder, I think, in a pretty enclosed area that they can't really afford to play loosely at all. I'm sure Lukey was reprimanded for it in the comms.
Yeah, well, should be getting into the draft shortly. We are heading on into Brawl Ball in center stage, so another mode where Humble can use its aggression to their advantage, and I'm sure they'll continue that from that first set. But ECLIPSAR, a lot of work to do, a lot of things they need to iron out after that first set. It really didn't seem too good for them at all. Heading on into the draft, then bans should be coming in shortly as they are the Colette, the Lou, and the Nita from the side of Humble, and the Poco, Rico, and Sandy for the side of ECLIPSAR.
Frustrating things eliminated by ECLIPSAR. That's what you get the privilege of doing when you have the first pick. But the caveat is that you gotta pick the good thing as first selection, and Juju is wide open. So they might decide to go for this. When you're standing in open terrain, you get a lot of damage. You can auto-aim on the ground. Janet, first selection, good for keeping the control. I think can get overwhelmed. You don't really want to feed her super, but in like tanks from Humble, especially when they have the last pick, I think she can be quite vulnerable. Now, at the same time though, she is still one of the best brawlers in the game with her hypercharge.
Yeah, I mean, Janet is extremely nasty on pretty much every single map at the moment. The drop the base to be able to reveal in all these bushes goes, hand in hand with a kit, and also, as you mentioned, the hypercharge is just disgusting. Being able to stay directly on top of someone and just rain down bombs on them all day is not going to be the best thing to be paired up against, especially when you can do nothing against it, but Frank comes in. That's going to be a good choice. Janet's not going to have the most DPS, and even when dropping bombs on Frank, he should be able to kind of just, eat them all up, survive that, and move on. And if they do want to, play a bit more range on the sides, then they're going to go with the Barry, who can play him forward as well. The nice little heal on with the tank is something that Humble are massively known for.
Yeah, it's the Barry and the tank. Barry Frank, I mean, it's good so many different places. I don't know if y'all saw it just a moment ago, Semantic rubbing his hands as he knows exactly the sort of nonsense that they're about to get up to. ECLIPSAR Esport are going to have a hard time getting the sort of DPS that they need. Gonna have to commit to some anti-tanks with the next couple of selections. Maybe they opt to break walls. Stu, there we go. Now, Stu can keep his distance from Frank on the damage front, can falter, but I think also will be able to hunt down Barry in a few different situations. I still think ECLIPSAR will find themselves needing to go yet another anti-tank. At the same time, they need to have some goal-scoring potential here. So a brawler like Frank, for example, on the side of Humble, has that goal-scoring potential. He can walk it through to the enemy side. But for ECLIPSAR, they don't quite have that. Now Maisie is able to sort of camp these walls around the goal, pop her hypercharge if necessary, but really it's the super that makes all the difference. She's such a good anti-tank.
I mean, the Maisie definitely redeems it quite a bit, but Stu and Janet have a serious lack of damage for dealing with Frank and Barry. Like a serious lack of damage. So Biso's got a lot of work cut out for him in this set, because it's going to be, especially if Humble add another good brawler to the mix, and it's going to be a Melody as well. This is a very dangerous set for ECLIPSAR to be dropping, and especially with the Humble 101 tank berry special, I am very, very worried for ECLIPSAR at the moment.
It's quite concerning. I think that there is potential here with the Maisie, but that's one brawler versus 3 that are, I think, really well equipped to deal with, say, the Janet and the Stu. Stu does have mobility. He'll be able to keep his distance, but I don't think he'll be able to keep the enemies at bay, right? It's not about staying alive here. It's about killing your enemies before they can get to your goal with the ball. And I don't think Stu will really be able to put himself between them too effectively, but we'll see how it executes. It's something that we've yet to see from ECLIPSAR here. You see Boss start off on the left lane, getting all 3 notes already, winning this range matchup against Janet, and gradually looking for that super and hyper.
Yes, I mean, Semantic actually taking quite a lot of damage now, but Humble making a bit of a move. Luki quite low, but Semantic does come in and tank those shots for him. He gets another super back, and Boss going down the left-hand side, still very healthy as well. And Luki will slide through with another heal with the ice cream. A pass to the left-hand side, and a little break from Semantic, and this should be a goal. I mean, look at this position. How more threatening can you be? Supers to the left, ball goes to the right, and no signs of life from ECLIPSAR.
And not a moment wasted by Humble. They're going to go right in with the hypercharge. Semantic and Boss combine on the right, taking down Subeam. A wide open goal for Boss. And Luki to walk it in to close out game 1 in lightning fashion, because they farmed up their abilities after that first goal. We saw they didn't waste an opportunity to not just break the wall with Semantic Super, but also stun an enemy so they could cycle out his hypercharge for the next push.
I mean, you know, we saw Semantic's cam and he's just exuding confidence. I mean, how can you not be after that first game as well? And especially after the first set too. Boss already dealing with that speed zone and looking to try and deal with this drop the base, which isn't really necessary considering Luki's there with something to break it instantly. He supers back to the left-hand side to heal both of his teammates. And Semantic standing this is going to feed Luki another super, and he uses it straight away. Hypercharge, ready to roll already.
That's nuts. The amount of cycling here, the synergy's incredible. Semantic with a bank shot off the right, completely undefended. And in that moment, definitely a shortcoming of the ECLIPSAR ESPORT defense. I think Semantic would have been able to walk it in otherwise, but Subeam was struggling to put himself between Semantic and that goal. We'll see, though, ECLIPSAR ESPORT finally gets some momentum here. Subeam with 1 kill, a hypercharge shot to the left, hits Luki, but Boss gets the defense against Marco before he can get himself to the enemy side.
I mean, he used a hypercharge with no super, and he wasn't able to get one either, so he just completely wasted his hypercharge, which is very, very unfortunate for Marco over there on the Stu. And Luki going to come in with his. Boss using his hypercharge too, and this is surely going to be a goal. Super. I mean, it should be still. I mean, there was a few little errors in there, bouncing back and forwards, but Humble are going to take this set, and what can we even say about that? That's just all-out dominance, and look how happy Semantic is about how fast they're walking over ECLIPSAR.
That would have been a bad time to run out for a bathroom break, because I think we got a collective 3 whole minutes of Brawl Ball in that matchup there. Really exciting to watch Humble come out like this. They wasted no time. Trev?
Yeah, I mean, 0-0-2. Not the best. And I mean, I think, look at their DPS. This just shows how much Luki was doing. He may have only got 2 kills, 230 DPS, and 230 DPS for a berry. Still very good, don't get me wrong. But look at the DPS that the ECLIPSAR were able to put out, and look how few kills they got. I think that just goes to show, you know, how strong the healing was from Luki and how good the composition is from Humble.
Yeah, ready watching the replays here. You can see, don't blink though. You're gonna miss the whole matchup.
This is when we saw like a little hitch in the offense there. Boss, I decided he wanted to stat pad a little bit because he's perfectly capable of walking in. He's a hypercharged Melody. He has the speed, he has the shield, the health, he can walk it in, but he needed to get those kills up so he looked good on the end stats card.
And you guys both talked about it during the cast, or right after the match there. Seeing Semantic so happy, so pleased, and the team not holding back at all. They take every match as seriously. They don't really seem to mess around a whole lot in battle there.
I mean, that's just who Semantic is. You know, he laughs and jokes about it, but he definitely is extremely locked in when he gets into the game. And honestly, at this point, I think you can kind of take a little bit of a step back. Yes, they're not going to, right? They're going to carry on being as serious as they usually are and try and finish this out in a 3-0. But how dominant they're being, how good their drafts are, and the map we're heading onto is an incredibly, you know, mechanically skilled map where you have to be able to play these sharpshooters or the mid-range brawlers. And I think that's going to, you know, play hand in hand with how good Humble are at the game. It should be closed out here. The confidence that they're putting forward, the draft that they're putting forwards, I can't see ECLIPSAR getting back into this.
I agree. I think this is going to be a 3-0, but if anything, we will be getting a taste of 3 very different types of gameplay. We saw the control game played on Gym Grab. We also see the aggression on Brawl Ball, and now it's going to come down to the long-range sniper battle that usually evolves as the draft comes in here on Shooting Star. Now, there are other possibilities. Sometimes you'll see, like, a Max make her way out here, and we haven't seen that as much in recent memory. There are just a lot of good snipers right now that are quite versatile. You see one of them banned out, one of the main characters of Brawl Stars right now, really, Gus, banned by ECLIPSAR eSport, but aside from that, actually quite a few snipers open. RT and Nanny might be banned. I wonder why Humble banned the RT. Usually it's a comfortable pick. It is usually allowed by everyone, but I'm noticing that stuff like Belle, like the Angelo, of course, is picked here, like Piper, completely open.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, RT's kind of usually one that sneaks through the bans and gets picked, mid, just at some point in the draft. It can be picked whenever, really. I was going to say mid to late, but it can be an early pick as well because of how versatile it is. At close range and at long range, it's usually quite useful on the majority of, knockout bounty maps. But Angelo is going to roll on in first, as you mentioned. Semantic picks that one up, and that's a very, very solid pick for Shooting Star. ECLIPSAR have got a lot of work to do in their drafting phase, and they're going to go with Max. Kind of go a little bit of a different route than the sharpshooters. They're going something a bit more speed, something that's going to probably be a bit more of an issue for Humble to deal with rather than just the sharpshooter on sharpshooter matchup that Humble would inevitably win.
Yeah, we mentioned this, that this is a counter to the sort of slower-paced, long-range sniper stuff, because generally, like, the sniper archetype has a difficulty defending itself in close range. I like to Piper, also, where it's like, okay, she did have some play where she could use auto-aimer, slow things down, knock things back. Now you don't even have the slow anymore, so even Piper is weaker. They're actually going to select the Piper here, which I don't know if it was that necessary. Usually Max is a hard enough counter to Piper that you don't need to pick it up for yourself. You can leave other things open, but they do need to have something available to deal with the snipers. And also, they don't want to waste their last pick on something that isn't like a total game changer or very impactful period. But when I look at this Max, I see the potential to get up in the face of this Angelo, but it is very mechanically based. It is a skill matchup. You can still get outdone in this matchup between Max and Angelo.
I shouldn't take the Melody. I was expecting something maybe like a Pearl or something like that we see picked up in the mid-range game quite frequently on a map like Shooting Star. But then again, that might go ECLIPSAR's way, and they might choose to take that to kind of have a fight off against the Melody when coming in close range. It's probably quite good to have the super and have that built-up damage that Pearl does bring to the table. But Humble do still have a last pick before we flip back over to ECLIPSAR for theirs. And yeah, it might give ECLIPSAR a bit of an advantage to have that last pick and have the ability to counter what Humble have brought to the table. But if they're smart enough, well, there you go, they've kind of taken the Pearl off them now, so it's a good pick. I like what Humble have got here. Very good composition.
I feel like ECLIPSAR are like maybe thinking of, okay, well, we could Bell into this Pearl classic counter, but then you leave yourself so open to the Melody. So it's going to be tough. Also note that RT would be like such a good pick here to defend against that Melody and also go toe-to-toe with the Angelo, but has been banned by Humble. So as we can see now, definitely a shrewd decision by them. Last selection now coming in from ECLIPSAR eSport, going to be pick number 6, 8-bit. Okay, so my thought was that maybe Humble would pick up like a Bell or something into the 8-bit, would prevent ECLIPSAR from going 8-bit or Pearl, but they decided to pick up the Pearl themselves. Now they got to play into the 8-bit, which can actually be pretty menacing if he drops boosted booster, and then Piper gets to benefit from that.
Yeah, I quite like the ECLIPSAR comp as well. Normally I'd be like, okay, this is, it's acceptable. They got a chance, but against Humble, I think you kind of got to doubt regardless. But I don't mind the 8-bit. I think it's pretty solid. As you say, with the Piper, if you can get them in that boosted range, it's going to be pretty decent at getting a lot of damage done against, the Pearl that is going to outrange the Melody. Without super, you're going to be doing decent against. But when Melody starts to get supers, and if she starts to cycle them, more importantly, ECLIPSAR are going to be in a very tough position.
Well, she's already gotten that blue star, so how do Humble plan on playing this? You have the single most aggressive brawler on your entire roster, now in possession of the single tiebreaker between you and the enemy. But Humble are continuing to push in, putting ECLIPSAR's backs against the wall, just gradually laying down the pressure. Lukey looking for some shots on a Marco. He's cornered himself on the right, but thankfully he's got Stinging Flight ready to go. Uses it pretty liberally, doesn't really care too much because the clock is definitely right about at pace with how he wants to be using these gadgets.
Yeah, dropped his super a bit far back, and you can just he's still got a couple of shots in here on the 8-bit. That's going to be, he's going to be pretty thankful about that, because it did seem like it might have been a waste at one point. Boss going in now, gets the shield off as well. Will he be able to get out? Gets his super, and Lukey will cover him and eat the shot as well. The homemade recipe was attempted over the left-hand side to the right, but Lukey, with the help of Boss, is going to stay alive.
Biso pops the hypercharge. That's one, that's two on a Semantic, but he's fully shielded up, and in comes Melody to punish. A jump away, but it's no use. Boss in hot pursuit, but Marco sniped by Lukey, outskilled in a matchup that Max is way favored to win. Boss picks up another with a hypercharge of his own, and Humble have now grown this lead to 10 stars total.
I mean, Lukey doing so well as well. He's kept Boss alive twice now by tanking these shots that both 8-bit and Piper want to send towards Boss when he's trying to get out of those situations that he's put himself in. And they do have a 10-star lead, which is going to be really tough to come back from. They're going to need everybody on the side of Humble, and I just don't know what the likelihood of that happening in 16 seconds is. Hypercharge from Lukey, and it looks like Sabim's even given up now. The rest of them retreating as Boss goes in once more. In 10 seconds to get 12, I don't like their odds.
Nah, that's bad for morale when your enemy team is popping the pig, they're popping the princess as well, yawning, practically falling asleep at the wheel. No difference. When you're behind 10 stars and you're versus Humble, they're popping their World Finals pins, reminding you just what you're up against, as a bad sign. Match point now favoring Humble in just nothing. No presence in sight for ECLIPSAR.
Yeah, I mean, coming into it is what we expected, but I was expecting a little bit more of a fight here and there, some games going their way, but they are against the world champions after all. We see a bit of a lane switch coming here as ECLIPSAR want to change things up, try something else, as if they do the same again, it'd be the same result.
Already the long-range snipes from both Boss and Lukey, barely staying alive with 100 health. Biso thought about going for a homemade recipe there, I guess didn't have it ready to move once again. Lukey's always able to jump away. Makes him really good in this Piper matchup. Here comes a speed in from Marco. Immediately denied, dropped to low health. Biso thinking about making an impact here. And even popped a gadget, it looked like, onto Semantic, but could not connect. We see Boss in to punish Marco. Now going for two. On the left side, Subim eliminated. And Lukey keeping up the presence on the right side. Humble are really, really punishing ECLIPSAR Esport, who at this point are playing so safe that it's borderline timid.
I mean, look at Semantic's confidence. Look where he is, and he's going to go down, but it's the overconfidence that's, going to end up costing him if they're not too careful about it. Marco dashes through that. Lukey forced to jump away with the gadget and throwing up a little pig pin that's shaking some booty over there and really rubbing it in to ECLIPSAR Esports. But shield can be popped by Boss, this time not in an aggressive position, and Biso one-shot. Max coming in to try and tank that, but look how aggressive they are. They're 2 stars up, and they're trying to pin ECLIPSAR back against the wall, and they eventually do get a kill to extend that lead. Boss going in once more, gets 2. It's brilliance from Humble.
8 stars to go for what could be a 20-star win for Humble. They keep up this kind of momentum, but they're going to play it safe, especially into Subim. He's just popped the hypercharger on the left side, closing in with the turret that now fires at the enemy, but Boss has the shield. Subim's trying to line it up for 5 stars. It's not looking so good for ECLIPSAR right now, but they do bring this to just a 3-star gap. A kill on Semantic and Lukey or Boss would do it. Just need 2 kills. Taken down, not a shot in sight. And Humble are going to close it out with a perfect, flawless 6-0 sweep.
Wake up, Semantic! You just won. Was he doing that in his sleep? Could he potentially do that in his sleep, Ready?
I mean, the likes of these competitors, Lukey, Boss, and Semantic on Humble, I imagine they've played so much Brawl Stars, they probably do play scrims in their sleep.
Well, they were playing with their food for sure in this matchup here. Taking a look at the stats, doesn't even tell the whole story, but still pretty scary, Trav.
Yeah, I mean, Biso taking the most DPS across the board, but Boss with 7 kills, just absolutely unparalleled. All the people on ECLIPSAR Esports aren't even adding up to close to where Boss is with his 7. And Lukey and Semantic got another 4 and 3 along with it as well. It was extremely comfortable. They were playing with their food a little bit towards the end as well, which, you do hate to see a little bit, but I think they're kind of, asserting their dominance in 2025, making sure that it's known they're still the team that they were at the end of 2024.